Second side or some stuff.
Sorry for the delay.
I think because of its building's location, proximity to the street.
It's not like we're dying to get out and enjoy the wonderful
I think it was from down, it was in Russia.
Oh, really?
Went to Mass, walked up there for a night,
Just a sign, just
turned around.
And I feel like, I don't know if it is, but it feels a little wider. It looks like that. Yeah. I also like this.
We're almost
Good morning.
Just one more, we're in a little trouble here.
Can you turn your volume all the way up?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Hey, we get this. Are we frozen?
It looks like it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, the full board, okay. All right. And we're broadcasting, we're good? I think we're ready. We can call the meeting to order.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order of the Greater Sturgis Property Development Corporation. And this is March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And roll call, I see we have all our members here. Proof of notice have been posted, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, executive summary and financial statements for sites.
We have financial statements through the end of January that are in draft form. Does anybody have any questions on those?
Hearing no questions, I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
Michael, second.
Second.
Second, Oceana, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We'll go to old business for Regina Chapel.
Can I
So-
interject for a second? Do we
Yes.
have the minutes?
Oh, there are minutes. Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know how they got deleted from the agenda. We should
Okay.
look at those two.
Good catch there.
Minutes from our February 17th meeting are in your packet.
Okay. Has everybody a chance to review the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
So move. Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We'll go back
Thank
to
you.
Regina Chapel.
Okay, I have included in your packet a summary of terms for two different agreements. One would be for us to acquire the chapel property that we discussed last month, how they want to split that piece off. And the other one would be for us agreeing to sell it to the entity that will ultimately develop phase two. So Lindsay, if it's okay with you, I think I'll turn it over to you and we can walk through these.
Sure. So the first one is the purchase agreement for acquiring the portion of the chapel that we're subdividing. Quick note, the subdivision amendment got approved, so the city is all geared up to do this before we close. So the transaction here is relatively straightforward. It's a $1 purchase price. It puts the property, the land bank, as the owner of this subdivided property, and would occur concurrent with the financial closing and acquisition closing for the entire parcel, which is slated for in June. It's contingent on that entire transaction occurring at the same time. The The closing costs for that transaction would be covered by the project. So the phase one transaction would be covering the land bank's council fees, transfer fees if applicable, those types of components to the project. And then the rest of the terms are pretty straightforward and distributed terms for a purchase agreement. I'm going to pause just quickly to make sure that the land bank team can hear us because we were frozen.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So that's the first one. Any questions about the purchase agreement? I don't think there was anything up here atypical about this one.
No, this part's pretty straightforward.
Okay. So the second one is the option agreement and the right of first refusal. And so this is the agreement that we talked more specifically about in the last meeting. And this is the one that has the terms that really commit Penrose to helping the land bank with the carrying costs, providing sort of mutual assurance that the property is maintained and taken care of for the term of the agreement. The main, one of the bigger differences between what I had discussed with you last month and the version you're seeing now is that we're proposing a 10-year term on this one. When we first talked about this, we were looking at a 4 to 5 year term, which would be the time in which we expect to be able to develop the second phase of Green Ridge Gardens, the 9% tax credit deal. The 10-year term is really more focused on protecting the historic tax credits that are being allocated to phase one. There is a 5-year sort of recapture period after phase one is complete, in which there's Penrose we are interested in making sure that there isn't anything that could put into jeopardy those tax credits that are allocated to that first project. And so that 10-year term really just protects the entirety of that recapture period. The carrying costs that we talked about before, the maintenance of the property, the security of the property, ensuring that the building is there, those remain in full force for that entirety of that 10-year term. In addition, there'd be a 5-year right of first refusal at the end of the 10-year term. So the land bank would be able to freely market it through their standard procedures should Penrose not be unable to move forward with a phase two. But we would have an opportunity to outbid the purchaser during that right of first refusal period.
So that's from years 10 to 15.
I'm sorry.
That 5 years comes after the 10-year option, so that's from years 10 to 15?
Correct, yeah.
And the right to match the offer, not necessarily outbid the offer.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, correct. The key term we talked about the financial terms prior, covering the carrying costs for the property plus the dollar here. If Penrose doesn't ultimately purchase the project or exercise its rights to its first refusal, we'd be seeking compensation for the carrying costs that we had put in over that 10-year period, just up to the cost, up to the price of the purchase, up to the sale to the other third party. Let me see here. Other than that, there's 2 additional agreements that are going to be bundled into this transaction that didn't quite make sense to shove into this purchase option. One of them is a functionally related complex agreement. And that again is sort of an extra layer of assurance that because we have a functionally related sort of complex here, that the land bank can't take any drastic decision without proper notice or going through the right procedures that could inadvertently or advertently damage, sort of jeopardize historic tax credits on the phase one property. So it's just an agreement that, we're working together to ensure the integrity of these tax credits. And then the second one is an access agreement, which just allows the contractor for phase one to use the parcel for phase two as a staging area to clean up the debris at the mother house, to fill in the foundation hole at the mother house, to allow our team to maintain the site, to mow and clear snow, that type of thing. So those two are all part of this transaction as well.
Do we have copies of that, those two pieces?
Those second two pieces we do not have yet, no.
Okay,
The access agreement and the,
so we're not gonna be approving this time without those, right? So we have those?
we can get those to you at the next month's meeting, yeah.
Okay, perfect, yeah.
But we just want to discuss the terms and make sure that everybody finds that agreeable before we finalize the documents. So during this 10-year period where it says carrying costs are paid each year during the option term, what's the process for that? Once a year, do we invoice Penrose, or how do you see that working?
I think this is something that we still have to work out a little bit between us, our respective parties here. We've talked a little bit about establishing like a fund, a carrying cost bucket of money from which the land bank would draw at an agreed upon minimum amount that we would then replenish that account. We can do it that way. I think there's if it's a matter of submitting invoices to be paid, I don't know, Brian, do you have any opinions about how best to approach this piece?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. This is Ryan here from Penrose. New to this project, and that's okay. New to this project, our awesome team, and happy to be here with you. Thank you for willingness to assist in this transaction. We would anticipate, I think, establishing a capitalized reserve fund within the phase one budget, assuming the state will allow it. We'll find out in the next several weeks. That's part of why, like you said, this is still up in the air a little bit. And then, I would anticipate we accept batches of invoices either monthly or quarterly, or carrying costs or just like work and reimbursed at a time better after receiving them.
Okay. That's even better. We toured the property on Friday, and Huber Brewer is the contractor for phase one, working on the buildings next door. They were with us as well. They are going to be putting in site security for the entire site, both parcels. So during construction, it'll be monitored, cameras, motion sensor lights. They will have a patrol that comes around at least once a night. So we have kind of their eyes on the ground, which is extremely helpful. We talked about if it gets broken into, just having them board it up since they're going to be there on site rather than having us mobilize to the site. Lindsay, you just mentioned lawn mowing and snow removal a second ago. Are you anticipating that during the construction phase you guys will handle that? Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Right now, you might know there's a vinyl fence around the entire site that you can't see through. It creates a place for people to hide and get back in there and break into the building. They're going to be replacing that with a fence that you can see through, or you think it's going to be chain link for the construction period. So that should help a lot in cutting back all of the overgrown cedars and shrubs around the church so that people don't have places to hide. I think that that'll make a big difference. There are some roof leaks. It seems like it's kind of the same pattern, similar to what we have going on over at South Pres, where there's like a little parapet that the water is getting trapped behind, and there was probably a drain there at one time that's now clogged. So we need to get somebody up there to look at those, clear the drains, make sure that no additional water damage is being done to the property. I asked Huber Brewer, since they were there, is that something that they would be interested in doing? They're already on site. They already have lifts on site. So we would probably get a quote from them and a few other contractors. But it's hard to get a quote because it's really kind of exploratory at this point to get up there and figure out what is the problem. But I suppose we'll start with that, diagnosing the issue. So we would need to kind of work with Huber Brewer, I think, to come up with a ballpark number to make sure that we get that built into the budget for carrying costs. We also talked about the land bank carrying enough property insurance on it so that if there was something catastrophic and the chapel did have to be demolished in an emergency, that we would have enough funds to cover the cost of that demolition. And the insurance premiums would be one of our reimbursable carrying costs.
What's the thought process for security after construction?
Have you guys given that much thought, Lindsay? Security after construction?
The entire, the phase one campus is gonna be monitored with exterior cameras as well. And so I expect that, through the security program that we're gonna have on phase one, that if it's not already covered in its entirety through that process or through those cameras, I don't see why we would add another camera to the other side of the chapel or something along those lines. I think it's something that we would be able to cover through the folks that are on campus.
Yeah, and once the first phase buildings are operating, obviously we'll have full-time management and maintenance staff on site every day. So continued presence, obviously, to keep on with it.
How long are you expecting that construction period to last?
How long will the construction period last?
Yes, for phase one.
The phase one construction period is 30 months.
Okay.
There's one building, the standalone school, the Franciscan Academy, and it's only 30 months in advance of that. The overall construction term is
Having a physical person on site, especially during school let out, is important because I've been on the site a few times when Grant Middle School is getting out, and it is a very attractive place for students to go and do student things.
I'm sorry, was there a question there?
No, there wasn't a question. It was more of, I heard you say that you would have physical bodies on site, and that is going to be critical during school let out hours.
Right.
It's a good tip.
What about your communication with the city regarding taxes and all that? Have you worked out like a shelter tax thing when it finally gets up and running, or what are you doing with that?
Yes. Yeah, for phase one, we do have a shelter tax agreement with the city.
And that will take place when you take ownership of the property?
The shelter tax agreement will be in effect when the buildings are
Open and occupied?
first year following construction completion. Between now and the construction completion period, the tax would, I'd have to go back to the agreement. Typically, they are based on the assessed value at present, when it's closed. And then they'll carry that forward. So we'll be continuing the tax obligations that are in place now through construction, and then it will switch to a pilot tax agreement once it's occupied.
Okay. So, Lindsay, we can plan on coming back to them with all 4 agreements in final draft form at our next month's meeting, mid-April, and you're talking about closing in June. I think that should still give us time, assuming that everybody thinks that these terms are generally agreeable.
It's okay. John's okay with it.
Yeah.
That would be fine for us.
Okay.
We'll share those final 2 agreements this week. I apologize we didn't have a chance
That's
to
okay.
rapid fire meeting before that. And then, yes, if the terms are generally agreeable, we can connect our councils so that the version that's being voted upon late April is close to final, if not final, but all of the other legal details should be worked out as well.
Okay. You made a comment about the access agreement giving them permission to remove the debris that's on site. I just want to make sure that it's going to require them to remove the debris that's on site within a certain period of time.
It is, I don't know that the term, I don't know that it is a requirement in the access agreement as written. But we'll definitely take a look, but it is absolutely part of the phase 1 project.
Gotcha.
I can attest to that for sure.
Okay.
We're fully aware that,
Yeah, it is among the very beginning, the very first tasks that's being handled.
you're fully aware that every set of eyes on the north side will be monitoring this project.
Oh, I'm sure they know.
And members of the common council. You could have made it more complicated. No, I'm only kidding.
Anyone has any ideas, we can try.
It's a really cool building.
It is.
When you do phase 2 and you're building new units, this is just going to serve as community space ultimately?
It's still in the works. There's only a handful of things that this chapel can really do because of its cavernous interior space and the limits that are put in place by the National Park Service for how you can work within these buildings. So we're presently working through ideas about how to build a building within a building, or to adapt this for community room space, for office space, management offices. We're still working through some of the conceptual ideas there, but those plans will be fleshed out in more detail over the coming year as we get our concept plans together and our applications together.
I was just curious. I was really struck on Friday. It's a pretty space.
It is, yeah. You kind of forget that it was built in 1950, and there's pieces of it that certainly look a little bit more modern, obviously the concrete construction, but it really does a lovely job of bringing you back in time.
Yeah, fooled me.
One question for me, if the land bank was not involved in the transaction, would Penrose be able to move forward with some other structure possibly, or would it really kill the deal?
Well, great question. I think that it would make the deal more complicated. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's going to kill the deal because we're a creative company. We will find ways to make this happen. Your involvement certainly makes this more straightforward and beneficial to the project. Look at the phase 1, allowing us to move forward with the phase 1 that's planned with protection against compromising the tax credits, and it really does help us in phase 2 to better leverage the phase 2 project, a 9% tax credit deal with HCR, with the land bank involved as a partner here, really just set us up for a strong project in the future as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions from the board?
No, I think we're good. Thank you guys for
Thanks,
joining
Lindsay.
us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for being in touch. Have a great day.
So we'll go to new business.
Just on that topic before we move on, I mentioned last month, I believe, that my office, I will confirm this for you, my office does represent the current owner, the Conjils,
Okay.
on the sale. So my office, there's a technical conflict of interest there representing the seller, and that's why I asked that question, right?
Mm.
I don't want to be perceived as I'm helping the seller by keeping you involved if I'm giving you legal advice that would keep you
Gotcha.
involved. You need to be aware of that conflict. You're welcome to waive that conflict. I can assure you it won't impact my advice I give to land bank, but that's not my decision, that's yours. You can keep me involved, But I want that resolved before I start looking at the contracts that I guess are gonna come. So you're welcome to waive the conflict. If you're not comfortable, you can get another lawyer to look at those documents for you. And you don't have to decide that now, you can kick that can down the road, I guess, a little bit, but those agreements are gonna come, sounds like pretty soon.
Yeah, it'd probably be good to decide that today, just if we want you to review them before the April meeting.
Yeah, I just want everybody to be aware of that. I'm not involved for the condos, it's another lawyer in my office. It's a conflict of interest.
What are you inclined to do?
Yeah, I guess we'll discuss with John, his office. If you want to bring in another lawyer, take over.
Well, I would be very comfortable waiving the conflict, but I want to make sure that you are all comfortable with that.
Are you, as a board?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay
Yes,
with
I'm
that?
fine with that.
Okay. So, should we,
I would
Formally
want, yeah, just
vote.
want to waive the conflict of interest on the
Yeah.
Regina transaction.
yeah, would somebody like to make a motion?
Motion, motion, second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Okay,
Okay, authorized sale of notable properties.
we start with 401 Salt Springs Road, which this is your third time accepting an offer on it, so hopefully third time's a charm. The last two deals have fallen through. So we have two applicants here, one who would like to operate it as a rental and one who would owner occupy it. They have both purchased from the land bank before. We are recommending sale to the owner occupants. 154 North Collingwood needs an awful lot of work. We have an applicant here from an LLC that will flip it and resell it to an owner occupant. And this buyer has purchased from us before?
Yeah.
Okay. 257 Ashdale, right around the corner, is in much better condition. We have 5 applications for this. We are recommending sale to the public employee. We have 3 offers that would flip it to an owner occupant, 2 that would live there themselves. And actually the public employee's bid is the lowest of the 5, but we're recommending that we show preference for public employees that will owner occupy and live in the city.
Their family's been without the city affairs for a while.
Yeah, Michael is working on becoming a Syracuse police officer, and so we like the idea of being a police officer living in the city.
So will the neighborhood.
Yeah. 121 Knoll is 33 feet wide, so non-conforming. We're recommending sale to the only logical adjacent buyer there, who is a landlord. 431 Gifford is also a 33-foot wide lot, and we're recommending sale to the landlord next door. And 167-75 Cumberland Ave is actually landlocked. You can see on the next page, there's an aerial photo. All of that in the middle is just woods, and it's pretty steeply sloped. One of the owner occupants whose home backs up to this property would like to buy it to expand his yard and fix a fence that's falling off of this property into his yard.
Did have a question about, since it extends behind the other property, is that property owner, they offered so we could subdivide this like we do other things, or how did that process come about?
So we're not gonna plan on doing a subdivision in this case. We almost always do, but I don't think the planning commission would necessarily approve it because it is kind of a weird shaped parcel. And we did not offer it to the other neighbor next door. They're in the process of going through an estate right now, and the occupants that live there are trying to buy the property, and they're just not in a financial position to pick up the other half.
Just didn't know if they were aware that their neighbors now don't own their backyard in a way.
Well, their yard is fenced, so it'll be the woods behind their fence either way.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to accept the sale of multiple properties.
So moved.
So moved, Oceana, second.
Second.
Second, Michael, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Authorized sale of multiple properties, HHQ, $5,000.
We are already under contract to sell them 13 properties on Merriman, vacant lots where they're going to build new homes with the block by block program, and these 7 additional lots nearby they would like to pick up. So they'll have around 20 sites that they are building on using block by block. HCR encouraged them to pick up the additional lots and expand their project that they had applied for.
Excellent.
And 301 West Colvin is a single-family home that they would like to purchase and rehab to sell move-in ready to an owner occupant. We had 4 properties that we've been holding for a while. We were applying for state home dollars for us to rehab them and sell them move-in ready. And the home application process finally got to the point where it was so aggravating that we said, let's just sell these houses as is. So we reached out to home headquarters. Of the 4, they were interested in this one. 1120 Cannon, we have listed for sale in our homeownership choice program. And then the other 2, we are debating right now whether to list them or whether they've really become demolition candidates after all this time. But Daniel seems to think that we can get a buyer.
We're gonna try.
He's an optimist. So yeah, we'll give it a shot and see if we can get buyers. Those are 120 East Lafayette and 120 East Matson. So those listings will be coming soon.
But we're just voting then?
Yes, so all you're voting on is
State
these
line street.
8 properties for home headquarters.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion, unless there are any questions about these properties? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to accept the authorized sale of multiple properties to home headquarters.
So moved.
Motion, second?
Second.
Second. Jonathan, all in favor? Aye. C, is it
Indigo, yeah.
Collaborative agreement.
I have a proposal here from Kim Graziani. She, for a long time, was with Center for Community Progress, and now she has her own consulting firm. We're looking to bring her out for a day to do a visioning session with all of the land bank executive directors across the state. The association is hiring her for that. But I would also like to hire her while she's here in town to do a half-day kind of visioning session with all of us, board members and staff on, the land bank's been around for 14 years now, and it might be a good opportunity to kind of reflect on what we've accomplished so far and how we see this organization evolving. So Kim is really experienced leading conversations like that, and we'll be gathering information leading up to this event. It'll be June 10th is the date that we're shooting for, assuming that that works for everybody else. Is June 10th the day that I should be aware of? It's a Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll reach in for our calendars.
The 8th is also a possibility, but I think the 10th is preferred by her. So do let me know if that's not going to work.
As of now, it works for me.
Okay. But I'm looking for the board's authorization to procure her services for up to $3,250, non-competitively because she is uniquely qualified.
Any questions? Good idea. Okay, I'll ask for a motion to Indigo Collaborative Procurement.
So moved.
Luciana, second? Second. Second, Jonathan, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, first stabilization service at multiple addresses.
In your packet, on page 7, you can see that we bid out some stabilization work at 4 different addresses. We got 2 bids on Hatch and Lexington and only 1 bid on Lafayette and Academy Place. Lafayette, we just want to add gutters. We did a bunch of stabilization work at this address a while ago. We have an owner occupant under contract to purchase, but he's having persistent moisture issues in the basement. We keep trying different things to deal with it, and I'm hoping that gutters will help. Knock on wood. 324 Academy is currently occupied. The occupants will be out by the end of April, and we want to renovate it and sell it move-in ready once they are out. It takes a while to get permits these days, so we wanted to get started on the deck permit now so that we would hopefully have it in hand by the end of April. So we're looking to contract with Onondaga Builders for that, to remove the existing deck and replace it with something slightly smaller. And then 330 Hatch, this is a vacant building that had a fire, so there's some smoke damage throughout. We'd like to gut it down to the studs to deal with that smoke damage, and there's also some water damage from the fighting of the fire. And so we want to replace the roof on that. It is currently listed for sale, but this will buy it some time and hopefully make it more attractive to potential buyers. And 404 Lexington is currently occupied. We would like to sell it to the occupants that were living there at the time of foreclosure through our tenant to homeowner program, but it does need some help. So this would cover siding, siding, windows and doors, front and back steps, and to redo the bathroom and kitchen and install a new electrical panel. All of these projects would be using LBI dollars, LBI stabilization funds.
Any questions? Hearing none, I ask for a motion to procure stabilization services in multiple addresses.
So moved.
Oceana, second.
Second.
Second, Michael, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And now we go to discussion. All in favor, discussion, is pace of foreclosures.
Does this number sound right? 16? Is that how many we got?
Sorry, yes.
Okay. So we did get 16 more properties in March. We're trying to continue to do what we can to encourage the city to speed up the pace of foreclosures. It seems that they are making an effort. Ideally, I'd like to see at least 20 a month, but we're getting a little bit better. I'm going to keep running track of this in your packets for you.
Is it a staffing issue still, or what?
I think it's probably a combination of staffing and.
We had a person and a half, basically, looking at it for a while.
I still kind of suspect that a lot of this dates back to the software switch. I think there was a lot of things that they used to do in an automated way that now have to be done manually. So the same two staff people just can't get as much done if they're doing everything manually.
Marcy bravely back in the 19th century.
So that's something that we're looking into.
Okay. Let me know if I can.
Okay, and then I wanted to update you on the move-in New York 52 homes that we are working on. We have a list of sites here in your packet, page 30 and 31 of your packet. We've identified the first 10 that we want to start with. We have put these out to bid between two manufacturers, Clayton and Champion. New York State Homes and Community Renewal did their own RFP process and selected these two manufacturers for the Move in New York program. Most other communities are giving their whole list to both manufacturers and seeing who can give them the best product for the best price. In our case, we're looking at the available models, and I have at least 18 lots where the Laurel is the only one that will fit. So, and we'd like to finish all 52 in a 1-year period. So because of that, and having to select the models for each site, HCR has recommended that we just assign 26 addresses to each of these manufacturers. They are hypothetically not supposed to exceed $275,000 for hard costs. But there's a few lessons that we've been learning with Maxwell. Like for example, we want to make sure that they all have LVT flooring going forward. The one on Maxwell did linoleum sheet goods, and there were some knots in the plywood subfloor, which means the linoleum is kind of settling into those divots and it's not going to last or wear as well as it should. So we could try to go to the factory and inspect and make sure that all those knots are being filled properly. Obviously, we don't have time to do that. So LVT will solve this problem. It's a more rigid material, it's thicker. If there are any defects in the subfloor, it should be able to span those gaps. And we're working on a warranty claim with Champion right now for the floors at Maxwell. Interestingly enough, that home buyer wanted to upgrade her flooring anyway. She didn't like, with the linoleum, you have that seam down the middle, and nobody likes the seam down the middle. It's ugly. And so she wanted to upgrade to get rid of that. And I was talking yesterday with the guys over at Champion, and I said, look, if she's found one of these, she's going to find more. You're going to have to keep them coming back over and over again to fix this and patch and peel up the floor and redo it. We'd rather just do it all new, nice, correctly now. So they are willing to give us credit towards LVT, so they're not having to come out and do the repair. And we'd like to cover the rest of that out of pocket just because of the hassle that this woman's been through. So I expect it'll be a couple $1,000s. Dave and I are working on getting quotes, and we'll come back to you next month with that cost. But this pilot house, no, I should say these other houses going forward, I expect that our hard cost and soft cost will be about $300,000. And on that, we'll earn an $18,000 developer's fee per house. We earn a 6% developer's fee. With the pilot, HCR covered all of the development costs, and whatever we sell it for is unrestricted income. So we sold it for $175,000. We ended up giving her a $10,000 seller's concession to get it to close. But if we have to spend a little bit out of pocket for doing floors and things, these are lessons that we've learned with the pilot house. We're in a good financial position to do it. So future homeowners will not have to deal with us ripping up their floor several weeks after they've moved in.
And the LVT work that you're proposing to do now would be done by a subcontractor that is not affiliated with Champion? Is that what I
Yeah,
understand?
we would select our own local flooring contractor.
So you said who chose the manufacturers?
HCR, New York State
HCR.
Homes and Community Renewal.
Just because we're getting killed on the public
Yeah,
education side of this by a couple of our favorite politicians. So we might want to better explain what's going on. Because of course we got blamed for choosing Champion. We're getting blamed for what the cost is to develop this.
which is,
Forget the tariffs and
Yeah.
everything else that's going on with the world. I like the upgrades to the flooring. So yeah, that's my biggest thing is we might just want to get in front of the marketing of how this
Yeah.
is chose. I did reaffirm with folks who asked me that no, the buyers would not be paying that $300,000 cost. They will still be getting the lower cost. Those two favorite politicians are advertising them as luxury mobile homes. So just so we're aware that that's the language that's going around.
great. So there are going to be 52 of these. We've been worried about kind of the chaos that might ensue when it comes to a waiting list. So Daniel and I and Jamila have been working on what that process will look like. We'll have something to share with you guys very soon. I think April 7th, we're shooting to do an info session for the public on these homes and how to buy them. We'll put together some kind of fact sheets that we can share with people at that meeting, and just in general, we'll post them to social media to educate people about.
Well, I offered them to come to our meeting and ask those questions. I don't see them in the audience today, but
Yeah.
that was put out there.
Yeah, so we would need to get some more factual information out there about the quality of these homes. They come with a 7-year warranty, all of that good stuff. So we will have to sell 13 of them to buyers at 60% of area median income or less, 13 at 80% or less, 100% and 120. So the 52 will be evenly divided between those 4 income brackets. And so we will first screen the buyers to see which of those 4 bins they fall into. And then once they pass that first threshold, we'll see that they have a pre-approval for a mortgage. And then Daniel and Jamila will do the math to see that their mortgage payments plus taxes, insurance, and utilities should not exceed 30% of their gross monthly rent or gross monthly housing costs, to make sure that they are truly affordable. Once they've checked all those boxes, then they can actually reserve one of the houses. So you'll see here that we have all the addresses and models listed. I've flagged the first 10 that are going to be kind of the first batch that we start on, but ideally what I want to get to is that with the manufacturers, we will have an estimated completion date assigned to every single one of these houses. So as you check all those boxes and you get to be next in line to pick your house, you might pick based on address. You want to be in a particular neighborhood. Maybe the model is more important to you, or maybe the timing is more important to you. You know that you have a lease ending on a certain date. You need a specific date the house is going to be ready. So people will be able to see all of that information and make an informed decision. And as the list goes on, you'll have fewer and fewer sites to choose from as they get claimed. Did I do an adequate job of describing that?
That was wonderful.
Okay.
And the only thing I would add is we're also reaching out directly to SHA to present at their resident meeting, along with the Section 8 homeowner assistance program, who also has a waiting list. We've reached out to Covenant Housing, and we're engaging with others. So we're trying to reach everyone. If there's any groups that we have forgot about, please let us know. We want to make it as fair as possible for interested parties to get on the waiting list, which is why we're opening that up on the 16th.
I would say general community meetings, so we don't miss those working class folks.
I'm sorry.
General community meetings, so we don't miss those working class folks. Like, I know I'm not the only parent at home that right now that has children, grown children back at home because of housing costs. So you don't want to miss those folks that are like falling they make just enough to not receive benefits, but not enough to get out of the renting process. So,
And the fact that we're covering those 4 income bands, I think will really help with that. The 100, 120 folks are people that don't usually qualify for other forms of assistance, but can't afford a market rate house.
So to make sure we're hitting those folks somehow.
When we do our info session on the 7th, we're going to live stream it on YouTube and we'll post the recording as well. So if people's work schedule doesn't permit them to attend, they can always watch the video later. And we will put together some of those fact sheets, like I mentioned, just to kind of refute some of the misinformation that's out
Yeah,
there.
because it's spreading like wildfire.
Yeah, we should
Yeah.
talk about the site prep that we've already started.
Yeah.
So for these 52 sites, I mentioned last month, we have a tree removal contractor who is hustling to get all the trees down by the end of March. Anything that is either in the way of the house or diseased and in bad condition. Obviously, we have to take down the ones that are in the way of where the house or the driveway is going to go. But we're also trying to take down anything around the perimeter. You know, you get a lot of trees in the fence lines that might become a problem for the home buyers in the future. You know, I'd hate to sell somebody a house and then 3 years from now they have to spend $5,000 taking down a dead tree. We want to avoid that sort of thing. Plus, it's going to be easier to take down before the house is there. So hopefully it'll reduce their carrying costs long term. They are hustling to get these trees down by the end of March because of the prohibition that we can only fell trees between November 1st and March 31st.
Yep.
So you'll see that they are in a lot of cases leaving behind felled tree trunks. They are coming back for those. If you're getting complaints from the neighbors about the way they look kind of messy right now, as soon as they're done with all the tree felling, they will be back to pick up the stuff that is downed. We have had some complaints about our tree removal contractor being rather rude to neighbors. We are talking to him about that. You know, there's no reason he doesn't need to respond to any neighborhood complaints. He can just give them my business card and they can yell at me. So we're working on that with him as well.
I definitely want to flag that, and then as we go forward, you know, I like that we're being really ambitious to build these houses, but we're coming into people's neighborhoods, and especially with the contractors we hire, you know, whether they like it or not, they're representing us.
Yeah.
The land bank, and if they're being, you know, not cordial to people, it's perceived as us being not cordial to people, and we've gotten complaints, and the complaints have been noted, but I do like that we're doing this. Not like that we're being so ambitious. I do want to thank you. You know, the work you all are doing is remarkable, but you know, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Where we're doing good work, but we're also coming in the community, so let's be good neighbors.
Absolutely.
You know, along those lines, Mo brought up make sure all the city councilors are aware of this.
Yes.
That we're doing in those neighborhoods, so they can, because they'll get calls too.
That's a good point. I will say, we knocked down some trees over on Midland Ave, and right away I got an excited phone call from a neighbor that says, "Oh, you're finally doing something with these lots. Is there a house coming in here?" And so we do get some positive feedback as well.
There you go.
But,
Yeah.
Balance.
The last house came down on Brighton.
yes, finally.
Finally. So, I mean, we got a couple complaints because they were loud during the day, but I'm like, it's daytime. You're going to hear stuff.
Yeah.
They're tearing down a whole highway, get used to it. But they were happy to see that those are gone. Now they're just, you know,
What comes next?
what comes next. So,
Did they finally do the one on the north side of Brighton as well? Okay, good. Good. Took long enough.
yeah, so it's just that one parcel that they would all like to see gone. That's just standing alone now.
Yeah, the community center and then just that one house. That's,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did meet a gentleman who bought that house a few months back and said that he's planning to renovate it, but I don't know if he's been doing anything there yet.
We haven't seen
Doesn't look like it.
anyone.
The
No.
front door is actually open for more than a week. So
Oh,
they haven't been doing anything.
Okay, I will reach out to him and let him know that's a problem.
Yeah, and it's getting, well, we did have the warm days, so the kids are back out. I know Sergeant Malinowski and his team are out trying, but they're very destructive, that one group, so it's a perfect playground if it's open.
Yikes, okay.
Other question, as I did call you, and Pat might want to note that, just clarifying with the water department, the lead service line. So I know on new
Yeah.
builds, those are expected to be replaced, but on houses that we are selling for flip or for owner occupants, they should be falling into the city's water program. That's not what's being put out to the public at the public meeting. It's being put out that the land bank is taking care of all of those service lines on properties we sell.
Who's saying that?
Grant.
Huh.
And Corey seemed to be in some agreement with him, but wasn't quite sure. but that information went out in a Chole's public meeting at, what is it, the Northeast Community Center. So,
Okay, I will talk to them about that.
so just so that we clarify the correct information, gets out.
Yeah, that's a concern. Yes, when we build new construction, they're getting brand new utility lines, water, sewer, et cetera.
That, which makes sense.
But for the rehabs, we don't typically put that in the spec because the water department may or may not require them to replace the line. Sometimes they find that the line has already been replaced, and then sometimes they are telling them that they must replace it themselves. But it would be nice if the city was paying for it, since they're paying for it for
Well,
everybody else.
starting in January, the city has to do it. That's gonna be the law everywhere. So, but we don't wanna, because we had certain community members who were there.
Yeah,
So now they're going to be telling everyone, if you're buying from the land bank, they should be replacing that line, which is not
that's not
the
good.
case and would not make sense in a case where you're flipping. We're not gonna go out and dig up the front yard.
Yeah,
It should be whenever they do the block.
yeah,
If they have a service line, the block should be done. Like at best, if we know they have a lead service line, we tell them put a filter on the tap.
yeah. Huh,
That would
okay,
be at best my advice for us.
thank you. Maybe we could put this in some of our FAQs. Chevelle's always compiling lists of common questions. Okay,
We don't have any new information on the Liga project, right? That was asked about.
now, we should probably have a come to Jesus talk with them about that.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, adjourn.
Thank you.
You'll fill out yours.
Yes,
Did. Mine should be in the box.
Thank you.
So, when you take ownership of the property, the taxing, City Hall will tax